Welcome to April 25th, 2022 edition of Bourbon-n-Blockchain Happy Hour. Tonight I'm joined by Draco and Myron. Draco, how was your weekend?
You know what? I had a great weekend. I got to spend time with family members, got to spend time with the kids. We had our first beautiful day of the year. It was definitely the best day of the year. Temperatures got up into the high 70s, low 80s, and it was just overall a very relaxing weekend. Couldn't have been better.
What about you, Myron?
This past weekend wasn't eventful, but this coming weekend will be. My family they're actually coming to visit me from all the way from Texas, so we're gonna go do some hiking and just spend a week together. So that'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, sounds pretty good. My wife had to work all weekend, so I went and visited with my grandma, and we watched John Wayne movies all Sunday. So pretty relaxing weekend for me. Didn't look at too much crypto, but it looks like the market's been a little bit bearish lately. What are you seeing, Draco?
Well, I think a lot of people woke up this morning and noticed that there was, kind of a stark dip with with Bitcoin. And if you kind of zoom in on today, we can kind of take a closer look at it. But it looks like, I think a lot of this is people being bearish because of news that the Feds are going to going to have rate hikes, which is ridiculous considering we've known that. That should have been, kind of priced in. I've also heard some theories that a lot of people were, shorting and things like that, and calls were coming up, so people were getting liquidated, and it was like a cascade effect. There's a lot of things that are potentially going on, but what I really like to see is that we had a huge dip and then a huge recovery right after that. So we lost a bunch, and then we came right back up and recovered a lot of space. So we dipped all the way down to like 38,000 and change, and we came right back up to 40,500 is where we're at right now. So that's pretty healthy. We had a pretty good bounce off the bottom, and there's some lines on the chart that we have that we put on here before, and you can see that there's like a blue line at the bottom of the red lines that were from today, and you can see that if you look to the left of the chart, you'll see that back in March there were a bunch of red lines coming up to that line, and that was resistance. And then if you look to the right, you'll see that those red lines came down to the line and bounced back up. And what we're finding out is that is now our support. So old resistance is now support, and it looks like, hopefully we can stay above that line and, keep printing some more higher highs in the future. And then in the macro, you can look at those two lines on the top and the bottom of the chart. And right now, this is kind of the wedge that we're in. We're kind of going sideways, but we're going sideways and slightly up and to the right. And as long as we're going slowly up and to the right, that's still healthy for Bitcoin and the rest of the market. So let's hope we can hold this. There's a lot of macro things that are going on that are negative in the world, but right now in crypto, it's not as bad as everything else is right now.
Myron, what's your
I,
view on the charts?
I had a spy call on SP 500 today. It went over 100%. My friend got me to sell, and it went over 500%.
Oh,
So he got me. He was like super bearish today for some reason. I was like, man, we're sold up so hard. Like we're gonna have a relief bounce at least, right? So what I think is, I'm bearish on the whole market long term, but I think we're gonna have a relief bounce in the short term. And right now, I actually have some long positions on a few crypto. And the thing is, right now, the way I feel like you almost have to play crypto by looking at the stock market, even though like you don't really want to do that, because if SPY pumps, Bitcoin is pumping, which means everything else is pumping. And if you look at this, if you zoom out a little bit, this is what we don't want to see happen. What we want to see happen is that, where we are right now, if we shoot past the highs, we'll go to 42 or break into the 50s, and we break out that channel to the upside. If not, this is actually what you would call a bear flag, which means it's going to break to the downside, because it looks like a flag, but the flag is reversed because the pole is on the, going up. So this looks like a huge bear flag for all the bears looking at this. But for the bull says, hey, we're holding this, we're making higher lows, we can keep moving higher. But the thing is, unless you break that top of the channel, you show strength there, it's not really doing much. And same thing with SP 500. I think SP 500 today we went from 420 to like 426 or 428 actually. But the thing is, if you don't break above the 440s, trying to make new highs, get back in that range again, all this is just relief rally because we got killed last week on Thursday, Friday, and so a little bit of bounce this today is not too unexpected. But the thing is, these bounces so far has been feeling like the chance for people to sell off. I think there's Apple earnings this week. There might be like Amazon and Google, Facebook. All these earnings are coming up. Netflix, we know we didn't do well. If these companies, they don't show good earnings for Q1 and good guidance going to the future, the market has excuse to come down. And I'm kind of bearish on Apple because China is completely shut down. And China is a huge market for Apple. So you can say, hey, Chinese people are shut down, so they're buying a bunch of iPhone, trying to like look at, use it that way. Or I think it's just going to be, I don't think they can have good guidance going into the future. So I'm the other way. I hope the market is bullish because I have some long positions. But man, it doesn't look like, we'll have to see the earnings, but I'm not so positive on them right now.
Well, I'll show you a bull. I think we found the biggest bull in all of the market.
Yes.
And he works for Fidelity. His name is Jurian Timmer. We'll see if this loads up. Here we go. And he's predicting, Jurian Timmer of Fidelity predicts $1 billion Bitcoin by the year 2038. And he said $1 million Bitcoin by the end of this decade. Now, I looked this guy up on LinkedIn, and he is a real analyst. If this loads up, it'll show he has about 25 years of experience for Fidelity. So what do you guys think of this guy's optimism? Are you this optimistic on Bitcoin, Draco?
Well, I have to say I'm a little reserved. I think that, this is one of them potential articles where it's like, here's the potential, right? And, the way that it's written is, this is a potential that could happen in the realm of possibility, which I think can be a little bit dangerous. You're not really providing enough information to back up that claim. But I think that the real thing is that, yes, Bitcoin's going to be successful. It's going to do well. I personally do believe that it could hit $1 million by the end of the decade. But to say that $1 billion number, it kind of gives me a red flag in that it's coming from a large investment company such as Fidelity. It's almost like, ooh, what's going on here? Like if Fidelity has a whole bunch of money invested into this for their clients, then yeah, they're going to want crypto to pump. They're going to want Bitcoin to pump. But I'm not aware that Fidelity has a whole bunch of money into Bitcoin right now. I mean, I'm not aware of that they have not entered the game like that because it's not a regulated asset yet. So why they would attempt to pump it prior to getting into it, it makes me kind of wonder what's their play, like what's their game here?
Yeah, this guy's a thought leader on global asset.
What is that?
He's a thought leader.
Oh, so, okay. Makes sense.
Maybe he's trying to get institutional money in. I don't know. What do you think, Myron?
27 years he's been with Fidelity.
In 4 months.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But this is the Moon Boy. That's why we have the title Fidelity Moon Boys, man.
That's right.
And, we're joking around when we saw this article earlier today. I was like, man, I was saying that it could be possible if we have hyperinflation and, the money is just worthless. But I think, just like Draco said, 1 billion is a little bit way out there, but 1 million, that I can see completely as a feasible place for Bitcoin to go to. I mean, hey, if it goes to 1 billion so how many years is that? 16 years? I guess I wouldn't complain, but that just means I don't even have a single Bitcoin right now, man.
Yeah.
Okay, you know how these companies can take loan against like their stocks or like their future earnings. They can take out collateral on the future earnings. Can I buy one Bitcoin and take out a loan on the eventually it's gonna be worth 1 billion and use that billion to buy more Bitcoins and we get into that loop? But I mean, I think this is a little excessive, but I guess we like to see it. And I have heard people start talking about that the Bitcoin ETF is close to being approved, or at least I think the grayscale is saying if the SEC doesn't approve it, they're going to sue SEC or something like that. So that's really, I think we're getting near to that ETF that we're all been wanting for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and that kind of brings it full circle. That brings up two good points. Number one, I think that, what you said about like, I don't own one Bitcoin, that's unfortunate. And I get what you're saying, but I think that, again, there's no responsibility in this article because they're trying to make it seem like you have to own a full Bitcoin in order to profit off of this. And I think that that's irresponsible because if, for example, it did the exact same thing that they're talking about in this article, and you were to put in $100 today, so if you invested $100 and it does go to $1 billion, which is, I think is very, very impractical, but it could happen. If that were to happen, you would have $2.5 million on your $100 investment. So they're trying to, like, you have to make sure you do the math. You got to protect your own investments and everything, right? But at the same time, if Bitcoin does a 25x or 250x or 25,000x or whatever, like, you have to sit there and do the math yourself and say, how much am I willing to leverage or risk, right? And the other point that you also brought up is, yeah, I do think that this is a play to get institutional, people in. And I think that in order for Bitcoin to shoot past its current crab walk to the side that it's doing right now and to decouple itself from the market, the S&P 500 and equities and all that other stuff, in order for them to do that, we need some catalysts. We need fuel to the fire. And I think one of the big fuel to the fire moments is going to be a spot Bitcoin ETF. If that happens, I think a lot falls in place in Bitcoin specifically shoots to the moon and the rest of the market goes with it. And we could potentially decouple from, traditional stock markets.
Do you think Bitcoin ETF, would that allow for more market manipulation? Because you hear the silver bugs and the gold bugs, they're always crying market manipulation because, the derivative stocks that represent the underlying assets of gold or silver. Do you think that'll happen?
I don't know, but I think that, even if you're looking at this supply and demand model, as long as it's sticking to the plan and going up and to the right over time, I don't, it doesn't matter what all that noise is, right? So yeah, I mean, I do think that it's going to have some issues. I think that you're going to have a lot of retail volatility, meaning there's going to be a lot of people that get involved that are going to be uncomfortable with the swings that happen in crypto, and they're going to be in and out, and it's going to affect the price negatively. But over time, as more and more money gets into it, somebody who's taking out $1,000 or $5,000 because they're uncomfortable with the swings of crypto isn't going to affect the price as much as it is today because it'll have trillions and trillions of dollars within the asset.
Yeah, and then institutions, when they buy in, they hold it for years and years, right? They don't just buy in and be like, oh yeah, tomorrow we're dumping this. Correct. Because it dropped 5% or went up 5%.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot more institutions would be willing to get into when they don't have to worry about all the security that you need to hold the Bitcoin. It's kind of like the old days. You needed armed guards to guard your gold in a vault somewhere, and nowadays you need, these professional security guys to make sure that your crypto wallet doesn't get hacked. So I'm sure that gives a lot of institutions anxiety, and they would much rather have an ETF than actually holding the Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that as early adopters in crypto that we need to accept is that maybe that there's going to be things that we don't quite like or understand or agree with, but as long as it brings more and more adopters to crypto and to Bitcoin, that it's good for the overall system. So for example, when I say that, I don't think that it's a great idea to have a bank hold on to your Bitcoin. I don't like that idea personally. I think that that makes your money no more secure than fiat or anything like that. So I would not personally go with that strategy. But there's probably multiple generations of humans that would much rather do that because it's easy. You don't have to learn how to use an online exchange. You don't have to learn how to use a hard wallet. You don't need to be responsible for your investment on your own. You don't have to worry about security codes. You just go to your bank that you've been using for 20 years and you buy Bitcoin. I agree. That's great and it's easy. But personally, I don't like it. But that I don't have to like it for it to bring more money into this ecosystem or to further the entire adoption of crypto. So yeah, I mean, it's not always about what we want. But I agree that these things, like an ETF, a spot ETF, and custody from banks, I think people downplay how much the custody from banks is going to shoot the price up, because if a bank like JP Morgan Chase offers Bitcoin as an investment to their customers and hold it within their bank account, they're going to need Bitcoin on hand to do that. And all of these banks are going to say, well, if JP Morgan Chase is doing it, then we need to do it. Now these banks are going to have liquidity on demand for Bitcoin. What do you think that's going to do to the price?
Yep.
Yeah. It's definitely a good sign that, it'll get institutions in, and I think it's a good sign for the macro chart of Bitcoin. Our next story is about a security story, the Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is the biggest NFT project, I believe, right? This is probably the most prestigious NFT you can hold. I would say owning one of these is a status symbol in the crypto community.
Only one of these is owning a house.
Yeah.
Of multiple homes.
Yeah, this is a different kind of hack. We cover hacks on the show all the time. In this situation, their Instagram account was hacked. So you have a blue check mark official Instagram account of this project sending out links to the holders. People clicked on the links and their NFTs were stolen. So in total, this article says 40 million $40 million worth of NFTs were stolen because the official accounts sent out some links, people clicked on them, and their NFTs were gone. Draco, you talk about security all the time. I mean, how do you stop something like this? My thoughts are, if something comes from like an official social media account with a blue check mark, I'm going to trust that every time. So I really don't blame these people for clicking on the link. I mean, you can't say don't click on a link from an official account, right? But here we are, they were hacked.
Yeah, I agree. There's going to be times where the hackers are going to outsmart everybody, and I bet you that we're going to come up with some more security measures to combat this type of hack now that we're aware of it. But unfortunately, and I always say, if you're not taking time to protect your crypto and assets and investments, somebody else is taking time to figure out a way to steal them. So I think it's very important. But this goes back to another thing that we talk about all the time, specifically with security, is FOMO, right? Don't get caught up in the FOMO. If somebody tells you, hey, we're going to airdrop you $1 million in tokens because you have this specific asset, don't just dive into it right away. Take your time, pay attention to what's going on, maybe check the Discord or ask some admins, hey, are you guys doing a giveaway? I just got this message. Because the ultimate issue is that you could lose everything if you're not careful. So, obviously this is a tough one. This is going to be hard. But at the end of the day, make slow, sensible, well thought out decisions with your investments, because if you don't, you could potentially lose them. I mean, that's really the only advice I could give you on this.
Myron, what's your thought of the hack?
I think I got hacked for like 10 Bored Apes. Where do I go claim that, man? Or maybe like 20, I don't know. But so yeah, this is rough because just like you said, Smokey, it's from a verified account that came out with this. So the hackers just getting smarter and smarter. And the thing is, with Bored Ape Yacht Club, they have so much money, they're going to reimburse every single person that got hacked. And every single ape is like what, $300,000-$400,000. It's like 140 ETH right now, so it's like $300,000-$400,000 each, man. So that's absolutely insane. And but they have the money to do it. And I think we kind of mentioned, right, Draco, that how are they going to do it with like these unique NFTs? So are they going to destroy all those that got taken and just remake it? Or it's interesting to see how they're gonna do it, because this isn't like, oh, you lost a bunch of coins, we just give you that coin as airdrop. This is like, well, if we don't do anything about the ones that got hacked, now there's like two versions of it.
Right.
I don't really know how that works. And I think they probably do have the power to maybe destroy the ones that did get hacked. Yeah, I'm not really sure. But I mean, I guess it's good that they will make the people whole who got hacked, because it is their fault that these people lost NFTs because their account got hacked. And you can't really say it's their fault because it's Instagram. Is it kind of Instagram's fault? So I don't know. This is rough, but man, this project I think a year ago came out, close to a year ago. The mint price was 0.085, I think, ETH to mint it. So like $500, I think, around the time. And now that 0.085 is like, with all the airdrops, with the Ape coin and everything, it's like 300 ETH. It's worth 300 ETH, man.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
crazy.
crazy
I
project.
think you have to. If they're gonna accept responsibility, which they should, since they were hacked, I just think it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying they were negligent, but I mean,
Yeah,
you are kind of responsible for your account. But I think you have to give them crypto. I don't think you can't just create a unique NFT and say this is worth the same as the old NFT, right? They're unique pieces of art.
Yeah,
That'll never
I think
work.
a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would just want the ape back. There's a
Yeah.
guy who had CryptoPunk, and he said, this is like his identity and things like that. That's what he uses his PFP. And someone offered him $10 million. I think this platform or a centralized exchange offered him like $10 million to buy it, just to say, hey, we bought it, because this guy was like bragging how he's never going to sell and everything. And he didn't sell. He's like, no, I'm not going to sell it. So I think a lot of these apes, or even, these super rare NFTs, I think people rather just have it than just the money.
Right.
They don't really care. A lot of these people are completely loaded now that has this. So I'm more so curious on how they're gonna resolve this.
Yeah, and that brings up my last point to this one, is that when you buy something like this, especially if it's a long-term investment or a short-term investment, I always try to tell people and encourage them to make sure they put that investment behind a hard wallet. And like, for example, if you're buying Bitcoin and you're not going to touch it for a while, because we always try to tell people Bitcoin as an investment, if you're an investor, not a trader, if you're investing in Bitcoin, it's at least a 4-year plus investment. You should not be buying Bitcoin and expecting to make a moonshot in 6 months. If you're doing that, your thought process is faulty. We need to do more research and talk to each other a little bit more. So if you're buying that Bitcoin and you're not going to be using it for several years, put it on a hard wallet and put it away. Same thing with these NFTs. If you're buying NFTs as a store of value, put them on a hard wallet, get them off of a off of a public wallet, off of a wallet that's not protected, get it on a hard wallet and put it away. And then maybe that could be something that could help you with this type of scam, because it's not readily accessible. You have to make the conscious steps to plug in your hard wallet to connect to this website or whatever, this link. And maybe that sets off enough red flags for you to say, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to do this, because the only reason I use this specific hard wallet is because I have my $250,000 NFT on it, and I have to be careful.
Yeah. I had one other take on this that I wanted to run by you guys before we move on. So in January, there was another hack of YouTube accounts of famous crypto personalities and all that, and they all had two-factor authentication. And the Bored Ape Yacht Club guys, they're also saying, yeah, they had their two-factor authentication on. They don't know how this happened. And the conclusion that like some of these celebrities came to was they thought it was a rogue employee that did this because because they had the 2FA on, their phones would have been disabled if the hackers did what was called a SIM swap, where they overrode the two-factor authentication and got to their phones. So they thought it was an inside job, basically. Do you guys think it's possible, this Bored Ape Yacht Club thing? We know that Zuckerberg has at least 2 NFT platforms he's opening. He's got one for Meta, and then Instagram's going to open up their NFT platform. I mean, I'm just saying he's got kind of a slimy past. It might be to his advantage to take out one of the big guys. Do you think it's possible that this was an inside job, that Zuckerberg maybe wanted to take out the top dogs and get people to come over to his NFT platform?
No, I think that there's constantly going to be just like there's volatility and in scarcity and issues with crypto and tokens. There's going to be the same thing with this. Anywhere where there's a chance to make money and there's an opportunity to try to steal that money, you're going to have this type of stuff happen. I mean, we're like 1 week out from the largest crypto hack in history, 1 or 2 weeks, right? Axie Infinity was hacked, and that potentially involved another country, North Korea. I mean, it's crazy. This stuff's going to happen all the time. And until the market gets a real hold on security, I also think this is going to be to our detriment, where a lot of people don't get into this asset class because of all of the security risks. And if we don't think that other people are paying attention and going, holy crap, another $160 million or whatever, or $2 billion was stolen in crypto, I'm not getting into that. It's not only is it volatile, but it's dangerous. People are going to steal my money. So, I think this is a huge patch that we need to get on and fix sooner than later. It could sink the ship.
Yeah, and there's just no like really safe way to operate in this space. No matter what you're using, Discord, Telegram, even Instagram now, no matter where you are, there's always a bad actor trying to get your crypto. You can't spend 15 minutes online in the crypto space without somebody trying to pull something. So yeah, that is going to be something that keeps people away. I think that's one of those hurdles we got to get over.
Yep. And that's why I think crypto security right now is not being stressed that much. I think a lot of companies, they said there's like I don't remember the exact amount, maybe 10 times more or something, or even more than that, of the money is in crypto gaming rather than crypto security. So I think some of the crypto security companies are really undervalued. I think this is a huge field that can probably can see huge growth in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to rule out Zuckerberg yet. I mean, there's no evidence pointing to him. But,
you're just a hater, man.
Okay?
I love a good conspiracy. I'll consider it.
Okay, let's see here. The next story is about using NFTs as tickets for like sporting events and concerts. So this article is about how NFTs could disrupt the event ticket industry. And what it kind of talks about is, so if you buy a ticket as an NFT, they could write into that smart contract that they could write something into the smart contract that prevents the original seller from reselling it. Like you could put an 80 or 90% royalty on it, and that would prevent somebody from being a scalper with that ticket. I think this is kind of an exciting thing. I mean, imagine being able to buy, front row seats at your favorite sporting event or concert at face value because there's not scalpers anymore. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this will be a disruptor, Myron?
Yes. Okay. So what I feel about NFT, like I'm not bullish on NFT in the sense like, hey, look at my cool PFP, look at this cool ape picture I got. And the thing is, I think the Bored Ape Yacht Club got so successful because of community and everything. But I think that's just scratching the surface, man. Like where I see NFTs really shining is eventually things like this, where you become a ticket. But what if you think about like housing deeds? What if you think about like car, instead of having a piece of paper who owns the car, what if that's an NFT? One is easily transferable, right? When you purchase it, when you sell it, rather than having to fill out all these applications, all these paperwork. But eventually using, NFT is something that's we're already using now in our time. That's just a bunch of paper and documents and things like that. If you put that onto an NFT, I think that's where NFT really shines. And of course, right now we're so early in the crypto space and things like that, where you're not going to see things like that because there's not even like regulations on the crypto themselves. So I don't think they're really going to consider, hey, let's use NFT for these crazy things that we can use it for. So right now, it's just profile pictures and like cool things you can have, just art and things like that. But I don't see that's as the key. So this is moving slowly into the more application wise for the NFTs, which I think I feel is great. And I think as the whole world start adopting more and more, then you'll see the true power of NFT, where it's like, people joke about right now, hey, what if I just take a screenshot of your what if I take a screenshot of your PFP? Now I have it. Well, we always say it's on the blockchain. The blockchain says who has it. So in the future, if I have a house and it's in the form of an NFT, hey, the blockchain is the one that I can verify me that I have it. So you can take the picture, you can do whatever. It doesn't do anything. So I want to see it eventually slowly moving there. And I think this is like one of the first step into moving to that process, which is great.
But this is actually like a huge real world problem that's never been solved that NFTs could solve. Because I mean, there's people that just buy 20 or 30,000 worth of tickets, 20,000 seats for an event, and they'll just instantly resell them just so they can flip them instantly. And there's not anything that anybody can do to stop it. I mean, some states have passed laws before, but no laws have really ever stopped scalping from happening. NFTs could actually do it. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Drago?
I agree with everything that you said, and I agree with everything that Myron said. And I'd like to add to it a little bit. I think what we will see in the future when crypto becomes regulated, and I think it's already happening, we're just not aware of it. There are banks and large institutions that are already hiring crypto experts, if you will, quote unquote experts, right? And developers. I already said JP Morgan Chase earlier, so we'll stick with that. You know what? No, we'll change it. Wells Fargo, I envision where in a few years, Wells Fargo will have their own blockchain, and their blockchain will be specifically to track and hold NFTs. And those NFTs are going to be property, and they're going to be houses, and they're going to be wills and things like that. And they're all going to exist on the blockchain. Now, initially, you're going to get a paper document that backs everything up. But in those documents, it's going to say that all of this is just a receipt, and it's all null and void, and that it's going to have a multi-sig authentication on our blockchain that needs to be approved by 3 parties, a banker, and then the 2 parties, like a husband and wife or whatever, to make any changes to this contract going forward, minus a will, like that's done by the family, right? That's what's going to happen. And that's going to literally change the world when it comes to digital assets merging with physical assets. So when you buy a house, like let's say I buy property in Montana and I live in Indiana, I don't even have to go to Montana to purchase that property. And, in the past where you had to go to a bank and sign all that paperwork and get all that stuff done, it's in the past. It's all going to exist on the blockchain. And I think that that's going to happen. I think there's so many utility for that we can't even imagine it. But I think that it's going to be really, really easy to do that with housing and property and things of that nature. But I mean, who knows? There could be so much more to this that we haven't seen. But I think in the future, what you're going to see is that banks have their own blockchains where they store their own information and have their own code and have their own blockchain that they can confirm information on. And that, they're not going to have their own tokens. You're still going to have to utilize, a whole different ecosystem for that. But specifically for assets like NFTs that have property and all that other metadata behind it, that's exactly what we're going to see.
Yeah, I agree. It is. NFTs' best days are still yet to come. So there's so much, coming that
it's a baby.
Yeah.
So you're taking the jobs of the scalpers, man. Come on.
Yeah.
They need to make a living too.
Hey, it's a free market, man. So speaking of free market, though, the last planned story we have.
It seems like people are waiting for this topic.
Yeah, this topic. People want to hear all about it.
So it finally happened. Elon sealed the deal. He bought Twitter for $44 billion, and he plans to make it a free speech platform again. So huge news for the free speech community. Everybody that wants.
He's dancing.
That's too good. Man. Oh man. So I don't know. I mean, it's just a great day for the country. I think, regardless of what side you believe with politically or what side you lean left or right, it's just good that we'll have a platform where people can talk these things out, and hopefully the best ideas will emerge. Myron, we'll start with you. What do you think about this?
The whole way he did this, man, is super big brain. First, he started buying up shares and never even disclosed it. I think he delayed the disclosure of it and got 9.1%. Then it comes out with this thing. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy it for $54.20. And add that 420 in there. Then I think at first it's like he might join the board, and he's like, I'm not joining the board. Come up with this price. And this is crazy because this week I heard someone talking about this because Twitter has their earnings this week, and I don't think Twitter is gonna have good earnings. They don't have good earnings because this whole team Twitter, they don't really know how to monetize Twitter. Because how are you gonna monetize? Are you gonna charge people to have an account to post? So there's really not a way to monetize it. So we see what happened with these stocks like Facebook. Netflix, and these big stocks that missed earnings and just got sold off hard. So Twitter right now is like me, I think around 40, high 40s, low 50s before they actually accepted this deal. But imagine what would happen if they actually missed earnings and this stock just tanks to like $30, or like even high 20s, and this whole board, everyone, all the shareholders are like, guys, you could have sold this for $54.20 to Elon, and now we're holding it at $30, $28, whatever it is, right? Just bag holding it. So I think they're now the board is super worried about all this backlash, maybe get sued. But the whole way Elon did it, I mean, it's beautiful. I think we've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks now since he took a stake in it. And we've been saying that he's going to get it. He's going to get it. Well, he got it. And, we're saying before too, we're now interested to see how he's going to run it. Now that I think it's not formally approved. I think they can still block it. I think maybe the government can still block it. But if he really gets it, we want to see what happens. Is he going to bring some of the people that got banned from Twitter back?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of voices out there that, just not even talking about political, just like it would be funny to have them back on Twitter again, man, just for some entertainment. So
I'm gonna be a lot funner.
I'm excited. I'm happy that
it's gonna shake up quick. I can say that.
What do you think, Draco? What are your thoughts?
Well, I've talked about this before, and I don't want to confuse people. Like, I don't like or dislike Elon Musk. I take it for what it is, and if he did something negative tomorrow, I would analyze that and discuss it appropriately. So I'm not on Team Elon, and I'm not against him. I'm just observing his behavior. And what I like to kind of compare him to, like last time we talked about him, I said that I compared him to Iron Man because he's making rocket ships and solar energy and in battery powered vehicles. And now he's announcing that he's trying to put a robot in every single household in the United States, and that he's going to open up a company that has Optimus robots, and those robots and that business is going to be larger than both Tesla and SpaceX combined. That's his next big project. I mean, he's freaking Tony Stark, right? Now, specifically with Twitter, he's doing something completely different. It's not about his company. It's about society. It's about, freedom of speech and rights. So now, if I'm going to stick with the superhero, monikers, I'm going to say he's almost like the Dark Knight. He's like Batman. He's the guy that everybody has to hate, but we need him. And, he's going to take all the hate, and everybody's going to hate his guts, and they're going to talk bad about him, and he's going to keep his chin up and keep doing it. And we need that. We need people like that, on all sides of the bench. And I think that we went through a period of time recently where it was acceptable to attack freedom of speech. And I don't think that in any shape or form that's acceptable. And it took somebody like a billionaire that, that had to stand up for that type of behavior and say that this isn't right and we need to right the ship sooner than later. And like I said, he's going to get a lot of flack for it. And I think that behavior is unacceptable, and so did he. And, he's making a big difference. He's making a change about it. So I like the direction that it's going in. I hope it stays this way, and I hope we're all proud of the decisions he's making and that this isn't a huge backfire.
Yeah, I agree. And, I was kind of looking back at this whole thing earlier today, and he is kind of operating on another level. Like his whole plan from beginning to now to buy this thing was so genius. I think he accepted the board position. I think that was just all part of the plan. Like he got them to offer him a board position. He accepted it. Then he declined it. I think that part of the plan was because if he just came out and tried to buy it right away, they'd say, no, Elon's bad for Twitter. Well, they can't really say that he's bad for Twitter if they offer him a board spot, right? So he really meticulously planned this out every step of the way to get what he wanted. It wasn't just he muscled his way with millions of dollars, but he also finessed his way in, just by taking it one step at a time. Okay, I want to get him to offer me a board spot. Okay, that gives me credibility. Now they can't say that I'm against Twitter or I'm bad for Twitter. Then he went in with the muscle and the money and all that after that.
Yeah, and he used their own rules against him. I mean, for a long time, the platform Twitter has been hiding behind the fact that they're a publicly traded, business, and that they're not going to be regulated by certain rules and regulations, and that they can kind of make the decisions as they please. And man, did that backfire. And now when it backfired, you had a lot of people saying, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's like, whoa, 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 you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't hide behind certain rules, and let that benefit you. But when it doesn't benefit you, to throw all the rules out the window. So I think that this exposes a lot of hypocrisy, and I think it exposes a lot of intolerance for freedom. And again, I don't care where it is or how it's done. I disagree with anybody that's trying to suppress freedom of speech. And there's a lot of things I disagree with that people say, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the right to say it.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. You hear one of the things you've been hearing a lot is the straw that broke the camel's back was the Babylon Bee getting kicked off of Twitter, and they're just completely. You can't really say that's misinformation because it's a satire site. It's like the Onion. Yeah. And so
you can't have humor, man. Humor is offensive, man. But with this comes a lot of crazy memes too, man. It's so funny. I think someone posted that Bill Gates is like account suspended. Of course, it's not suspended, but there's so many memes that's coming from this. And another one is I saw the Jack Dorsey with this buyout. He's actually going to cash out like $40 million or something, and he hasn't been involved. Yeah, he hasn't been involved in Twitter for such a long time. I mean, even for the years where he was CEO, he was more interested like go meditate and try to run the company. Right. So, but man, like just another guy that just got a huge payout. But I guess for this space, I think it should be pretty good.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey's a really interesting guy. I would love to hear a tell-all from him someday, because it sounds like he was kind of against what was happening, but the corporate bureaucracy just got so big that he lost control of it, and he couldn't really stop. He created a monster. Twitter became like his Frankenstein that he couldn't control, and he just lost control of it.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and I heard that the newer regime that was coming in, that was kind of taking over the space, was a lot more about censorship than they were about making rules and things like that. And we beat up Twitter for that kind of stuff, but they're not the only platform that's doing that. Let's not forget that good old even YouTube. That's what we're on right now. Even YouTube has been censoring a lot of content and violating people and kicking people off of their platform, and making sure that specific content isn't able to be aired on their platform. And who knows? I mean, I'm not a a tell-all. I don't know everything that's going to happen, but I can tell you this: I bet you YouTube might be in the crosshairs next.
That would be crazy. But I don't think anyone has the power to buy out YouTube because it's owned by Google.
Because it's owned by Google? I wouldn't put that past anybody. I mean, who knows? Maybe a group of people come together to buy it.
I've heard YouTube operates at a loss. Like, I don't know. These are just rumors, but they say YouTube operates at a loss because it's owned by Google, and you need so much server space to run it that they actually lose money on it. But
well, if you can't beat them, buy them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good day. Definitely a good day for the country, I think. You need a town square. You need a place. Twitter gets ugly a lot. There are a lot of trolls on it. But actually, I think Kevin O'Leary said it best on an interview earlier this week. The price of free speech is that the fringe have a voice, and he said that it's been that way for thousands of years. Any country that's ever had free speech, the lunatic fringe on both sides has had a voice. And they have to have a voice if you want to have free speech. That's just the price of free speech.
Yep. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. And I hope it gets approved. I don't think everything is, set in stone yet. I just hope it gets approved to see where it goes.
Yeah. I think it is set in stone. It was approved, wasn't it?
There was talks about like you can pay money to get your account that blue check mark. And today, Dogecoin pumped like 15% leading up into the news. So is he gonna bring it where you pay with Dogecoins? Something crazy. But there's a lot he can do with this.
Would you pay $2 a month to get rid of ads and to have a check mark?
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of reasonable, isn't it?
I pay YouTube like $15 or whatever the amount is to get rid of the ads. But more importantly, when I close my phone, it still plays. So I will pay for that if it's not anything too crazy, right? And maybe this is a way for them to actually finally be able to monetize Twitter. And I think this would be a way to get rid of all the bots too, because they probably don't want to be paying all that money to get the bots running.
Yeah. Well, I guess we talked about that enough. You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
I think that I think one of the things that we can kind of hint on a little bit here is that the crypto market right now is kind of going through some ups and downs. There's a lot of turbulence, and I think that a lot of it isn't specifically the crypto market. I read some posts that right now people being interested in crypto is down a lot, significant. I think it's down 60%, which is a lot. And a lot of that I think is due to people worrying more about their other financial interests, worrying about inflation, how they're going to pay for their gas, how they're going to put food on the table, and people that are just trying to throw money into investments for a return is starting to kind of wane a little bit. And I think that we're going to see this long term. I know Myron at the beginning was talking about being bearish long term. I think that we're going to see some bearish activity over the next several months. And it's going to be difficult to get out of because it's not just, the fault of any one thing. There's so many macro level things that are affecting this market. There's the war in Ukraine. There's the United States printed a couple $1 trillion because they decided they were going to do that, and at the detriment of all of the citizens that are going to have to pay for that with inflation. There's just a lot of issues that are happening right now. And I think that we're going to just see some negative sentiment for a while, and it's going to take a minute for us to get out of this trend. So just buckle up, this is temporary. And I don't think that this changes the outlook of specifically like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Like Bitcoin's still going to eventually hit $100,000. That's not going to affect that. It's just the timeline in which it does is probably going to be extended a little bit.
I think this is the time where, there's a saying that goes, you make money in the bull market, but you get rich in the bear market.
Yeah.
So if you have stable coins, hold on to those. You always want buying power. This is not a time for you to be 100% in the market. Even the people who are mostly in the market, they're like, hey, maybe 30% you're holding as cash to be able to buy the dip. And one of the worst thing you can ever feel is when it drops so much, you want to buy it, you have no money to buy it. I have felt that before in stocks back in the day because I always use up all my buying power. And man, sometimes I watch it, I'm just like, I wish I could buy it now. I wish buy it now, but I have no buying power. So keep buying power on hand. And if you have a job, do the best you can to save up money. So if the dip really does come, we don't want to see it happen. But let's say, for example, SPY drops hard, 15, 20 or 30%. If that drops that much, Bitcoin is going to the low 30s or even the 20,000 range. Man, you can wish you have as much money as you can have to buy those dips because it's going to rebound. It will rebound. But we don't know when it's going to go down, if it's going to go down. But right now, if you have a job, save up money. Don't spend money on dumb things. There's not a time to go buy big TVs and things like that. Save up money because, man, I think there's a chance, there's opportunity for those people who are prepared if this dip really comes to make a lot of money in the years to come. So it should be excited. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I would take that one step further and say for crypto investments, right now might not be the best time to chase 1,000 X's and stuff like that. I don't, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from investing, and I'm not a financial investor, and I'm not going to be able to tell you what to do. This isn't financial advice, but what I will say is that right now might not be a great time to throw your money around trying to hit a moonshot when the market is going sideways and up and down so much, just so volatile. So be a little bit more conservative with your investments and just kind of watch and pay attention. If you're already in positions, it's a good thing to hold. And if you're not in positions, maybe right now is not a great time to get into certain positions. Just kind of wait and see what's going on in the market. Because you could easily throw your money at something and just lose, 50-60% of your investment very quickly. So, just some ideas for you to consider
Yeah.
right now with a market that looks like this.
Axis, aka coin collectors, like I'm never degening again.
Yeah.
The time will come, once we get in a bull market again, the time will come where you can degen and get like 100x
Yeah.
or those crazy gains. But like Draco said, right now when everything's so weak, everything's so unstable, just
With like
keep
3 to 5% of your overall portfolio, not 95%.
Stay away from
Oh,
the DeFi nodes. Stay away from the DAOs. If anybody's still messing around with DAOs and all that nutty stuff, now is not the time for that stuff.
yeah, it's gonna pump one day, I think,
It'll come back, yeah,
but
it'll
right
come
now it's just it's rough. And I'll say this one last thing I heard. I was listening to this one guy talking about stocks. He said basically he was doing good for a while, and he said this was way back in the day, like Facebook IPO, and he said so he had a lot of money. And back in the day, what they would do is they would just buy these IPOs and flip it because they're like so hype. So he said he bought into Facebook IPO, like all his position, like all his money into that Facebook position. And of course, he was trading at a trading firm. So they used also like, the trading firm's money. So what happened with that whole thing was when Facebook came out, there was like an error with how they registered it. Not registered, but like in the computer. So when they actually bought the shares, you don't actually see it in your account that you have the shares. So you have the shares, but you can't sell the shares. So they said Facebook came out, it's like 40 something. It went up like $1 or $2, then it just start dropping. And when they fixed the error where everyone can have the shares in the account now, so they're already losing money because it's the price is already below where the IPO was at. And now that everyone got the shares, everyone started dumping it. And he said that one position, he lost over $1 million on it, and he quit trading for like a couple of years because of that. So man, like you gotta be careful when you do a whole portfolio, you do something. Just like Draco said, a couple percent, that's fine. Majority in safe stuff, but man, this is the time I think just stack those stable coins because I think there's gonna be a bigger drop coming.
All right. Well, with that, Smoky Mountain saying goodbye, and we'll see you Thursday.
Good night,
Thank
guys.
you, everybody. Thanks for coming, and we really appreciate you. Check us out on Mondays and Thursdays, and hit the like and subscribe, and check us out in the Discord.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.